This is MetaTherapy, where we talk about therapy itself. Not advice, not diagnosis, just understanding the process so you can use it better. Each episode of MetaTherapy is psychoeducation, not therapy. If something resonates, it's meant to be language you can bring back into your own work.
People keep asking me, how are you doing? And the honest answer is, I don't really know yet. I lost my Mim this week. My family lost our matriarch and our angel. And if you've ever lost someone you love, you already know this part. Language breaks down before grief does. So this episode isn't about getting over loss. It's about what therapy is actually useful for when nothing feels fixable. My name is Gadoury, and this is MetaTherapy. This is a quieter episode, a slower one. If you need to pause, step away, or come back later, that's not avoidance. That's grief knowing its own pace. I'm sharing this not because I have answers, but because grief gets lighter when it's witnessed. I want to take a minute just to tell you about my Mim. Her name was Doris M. Gadoury, and she lived to be 103, which honestly feels very on brand for her. She passed peacefully this week, and there's something about losing someone who lived that long that messes with your sense of time. She was born in 1922. Let that land for a second. Entire lifetimes happened inside her lifetime. Mim's house was always full, not just of people, but of noise, food, stories, hugs that lasted a little longer than you expected. There was always something cooking, always someone dropping by, always the sense that you belonged in that moment you walked in. My favorite food of hers was gâteau, which was a French dish, kind of a spread of sorts that you put on crackers with the little mustard. Although some of my family members probably think that that's crazy, but it was so good. Our Mim worked hard her whole life, but what defined her wasn't productivity, it was generosity. She poured herself into family, into friends, into kids who weren't even hers. For almost 20 years, she was a foster grandmother at the Green School, showing up for little ones with the same warmth she gave all of us. And that was in Fall River, Massachusetts. She raised her kids with a kind of love that felt steady and unquestionable. She celebrated every holiday like it mattered, because to her, it did. And she had this way of sharing wisdom that never felt heavy. Sometimes it was advice. Sometimes it was a look. Sometimes it was a wink that said, you'll figure this out. What I keep coming back to is this. Mim made people feel seen, not impressive, not fixed, seen, cared for, like they mattered exactly as they were. She leaves behind a huge family. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, even a great-great-great-granddaughter who absolutely adored her, which feels fitting. Love kept multiplying around her. And losing her hurts, not because something went wrong, but because something went very, very right. She was our heart, our anchor, our best story, and learning how to carry that love forward, that's part of the grief we all are sitting with right now. What has been surprising for me wasn't just the sadness, it's been how disorienting it is when the world keeps moving, but someone essential is suddenly missing from it. One thing I want to name, because a lot of people quietly worry about this, is how strange grief can feel in the body. Sometimes it's not sadness at all. Sometimes it's numbness. Like your system just hits pause because everything is too much to take it in all at once. That's not denial either. That's protection. And then there are moments that catch people off guard when you are laughing at a memory. It's something completely unrelated. And right after, there's guilt, like you've done something wrong. You haven't. Laughter doesn't cancel grief. It just means your nervous system found just a tiny bit of air. And then there are the waves. You can be okay 1 minute, functional, steady, and the next minute something small hits you, and in that sideways, a smell, a song, a random Tuesday afternoon. That doesn't mean you're backsliding. It means grief doesn't move in straight lines. All of this is normal. Numbness, laughter, sudden waves, none of it is a failure of grieving. It's what happens when love is trying to find a new place to live. None of it means you're grieving wrong. It just means you're grieving. A lot of what makes grief harder isn't the loss itself. It's the expectations we put on ourselves afterwards. Most of us were taught ideas about grief that sound comforting, but quietly set us up to feel like we're failing. Take the idea of the stages of grief. They were never meant to be a checklist you move through in order, but that's how they get used. Like if you've already felt acceptance once, you shouldn't be angry again. And then people panic when they circle back. That's not regression. That's grief doing what grief does. It moves in loops, not lines. There's also this unspoken timeline, a sense that after a certain number of weeks or months, you should be better, more functional, less sad. And when you're not, you start wondering what's wrong with you. Nothing is wrong. Love doesn't run on a timeline. And then there's therapy. A lot of people coming in thinking therapy is supposed to help them move on. Like the goal is to stop missing someone, stop thinking about them, stop hurting. That's not what good therapy aims for. Therapy doesn't help you move on from someone you loved. It helps you move through the grief so it doesn't freeze you in place or force you to abandon parts of yourself just to look okay. If you're still hurting, it doesn't mean therapy isn't working. It often means therapy is making room for the truth. Grief does not move in stages. It moves in spirals, in circles. You don't graduate from it. You learn how to live with it. One of the biggest gifts therapy can offer in grief is something really simple and surprisingly rare, a container. A place where your grief doesn't have to get managed, softened, or made palatable for everyone else. So much of the daily life asks us to hold it together, to function, to not make things awkward. Therapy can be the one space where you don't have to edit the heaviness or rush yourself toward relief. It's also where you start to learn the difference between leaning into grief and being overwhelmed by it. Sometimes the work is letting yourself feel it, naming the sadness, the anger, the missing. And sometimes the work is stabilizing, grounding your body, catching your breath, making sure you're not drowning. Good therapy helps you tell the difference. It doesn't push you deeper before you're ready, and it doesn't pull you away from your feelings just to make things more comfortable. And maybe more importantly, therapy gives you an experience of being mirrored, of having someone really see what this loss means to you without minimizing it, without comparing it, without jumping to silver linings. When someone reflects your grief back to you with care, it does something quiet but powerful. It tells your nervous system, this makes sense. And that alone can be incredibly regulating. Good therapy doesn't ask you to explain your grief away. It helps you to stay present with it without getting swallowed. Here's something gentle you can try today. No journaling, no breakthroughs required. Set a 3-minute timer, one hand on the chest, one on the belly. Just ask, what does my grief need right now? Expression, rest, connection. You don't have to act on the answer. Just notice it. As I'm recording this, I keep noticing how my shows up, not in some big poetic way, but in small, ordinary moments, in food, in routines, in the way I reach for people when things feel heavy. That love didn't end when she did. It's still moving through me, just in a different form. I feel grateful for her, not because the loss is okay, and not because this somehow makes sense, but because a love like that gets to leave a mark. And I can miss her deeply and be thankful she was mine. Those things can exist together. Grief is the price of love, and I'd still choose it. If you're grieving right now, I want you to hear this. You don't need to be strong. You don't need to be inspirational. You don't need to make meaning or show progress or reassure anyone that you're okay. You just need to be human, and you don't have to do it alone. My name is Gadoury, and this has been MetaTherapy. Until next time.